Hello everybody. How are you guys doing? It's Claudia. Nice to see you guys again. And if you're new here, hi. I'm Claudia. Nice to meet you. So today I'm going to be doing a bit of chit-chatting towards the end of the video. But right now I'm just taking you guys with me on my content trip. I have an ad to film for this shoe company. Look at these shoes. How cute are they? And so yeah, I've just set up my tripod. I found this really cute location at U of T. If you live in Toronto, if you live in the GTA, it's a beautiful spot. A lot of people come here for photography and just seeing the sights. There are beautiful buildings here, so yeah. Pictures are done. Sweater is going back on. I don't want to be stared at right now. I was stared at and people were like taking pictures of me as I was taking my pictures, and I was like hee hee. But it's a location where like people will, you know, they'll go with their professional cameras to take photos. So I was like, okay, I kind of get it, but also I'm just a regular girl, so why are you taking my image? Who are you? I am gonna go get myself a bagel. I really want to talk about life, just kind of a big topic. What I mainly want to talk about is feeling stuck, and then also like having a purpose slash the feeling that like life is just like this endless cycle that goes on and on. So yeah, if you want to hear about that stuff, then keep watching. Okay, so personally, I feel like I have a very existential way of looking at things. I feel like I'm constantly thinking about like life in a longer sense, like, oh, like what's the purpose, why am I doing this, what are we all doing here, sort of thing. Every once in a while I do try to come up with some sort of an answer. What I've decided as of a few months ago is the purpose of life is just to learn like as much as you can, and that's the one thing that's continuous in life. And I was going to make a video solely on the purpose of life, but I decided I would just put it all, mash it all into one video together. For a long time I feel like I've thought about the fact that we like go to school, we get a job, and then that's just kind of it. And then at a certain point you retire, and then at a certain point it's like you're not here anymore, and then that's it. And then like the next person that comes after you is just gonna do the same thing. And when I think about that, it just, I don't know, like it just feels so bland and boring. And I feel like there's probably a lot of people who kind of go through this process, this thought process, these realizations as well. And that's why people like venture off and do their own thing, like they start their own business, they make sure that they have time for their hobbies and just travel and like things like that, and like just do things that are like not conventional everyday sort of things. It's like even that for me kind of seems like, it just seems like it's still part of the same cycle. It's like you have this realization, you go and you try to do these things to like break out of your norm, and then at a certain point you have to like come back to the norm. And I don't know how to describe it. It's just, I kind of just have a lot of points in my life, like every couple weeks or whatever, where I literally just think like, what are we all doing? Why are we all doing it? Like, why? I don't even know. I think that that's why it is important to have like hopes and dreams and goals and stuff. Like obviously I am trying to express myself artistically because I know that that's one thing that always makes me feel good and happy, and that is something that like you know, it doesn't feel like forced. Like I like to challenge myself in that sense of like, you know, coming up with a creative idea. How do I film this new video? Like, what angle should I do? Where should I go in the city? Like, what should I try next? Like, that's kind of like, I'm happy with like the niche, I guess, that I've picked. More than that, like just on a personal level, like I get to, you know, explore my own mind in a creative sense, and that I feel like is one thing that makes life not so regular and has some sort of purpose. Think about more conventional goals and stuff that I may have, like wanting to have a partner, and how like I feel like love is something that not everybody gets to experience, especially true love that is like positive and reciprocated. And I think about like how the world and society is like kind of getting worse, you know, like people always talk about dating and how it's like hopeless to date nowadays, and I feel like that's kind of where I'm at. I'm like, okay, well, dating was already hard for me when I first started going on dates, so this isn't like, it's not going to get anywhere. It wasn't getting anywhere before, it's certainly not going to get anywhere now. I talked about that a little bit on my Instagram stories, and that's like one of the stories that like a lot of people messaged me about and were like resonating to. And so it was kind of like, sometimes you think that certain thoughts or experiences are just happening to you, but like the amount of people who were like, no, like this is exactly the same scenario that happened to me, or, you know, da-da-da, this and that, I've been through this before, sort of thing. It just makes you think like, oh, okay, it's nice that people get it, but then also I don't like, that's not a good sign if multiple people are messaging me being like, yeah, I had the same exact experience, and I'm just like, okay, well, we're all collectively heading downhill. It's a race to the bottom. I think that one of the reasons that sometimes people will send me a message on Instagram or something, or I've had friends in the past, when I had like a friend group and stuff, who if I did something like by myself or something that they typically don't do, they might be like, wow, like how did you do that like by yourself, like, or how could you just go up to that person and ask a question or talk to a stranger, like, I don't know, stuff that's like not considered normal or like out of somebody's comfort zone. And for me, I think in realizing how the world is, and that like nothing means anything in a way, once you kind of come to that realization, it's like being cringe doesn't matter, making a mistake doesn't matter, like nothing truly matters. I think that's kind of like a good side of having this existential way of thinking, because obviously it can be depressing, but at the same time it's like I will do anything, because in my mind I'm like, it's, in a way, it's just so insignificant. I think that like if you think about when you were younger, when you were a kid and you had to get up in front of a class and, you know, make a presentation, when you're in elementary school, that is way more intimidating, and you feel like everybody's staring at you, and, you know, it's just like the hardest thing in the world. But then like as you get older, like, okay, like public speaking is just like, it's just another thing, it's part of the world, you know, like it's not like cringy, it's not weird, it's something that we have to do, we're all here, you know, because we have to do these things, and sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad, sometimes they're hard, sometimes they're not. And like, even when it comes to like being by yourself, like for me, one thing I always say is like, you going out and doing something on your own is not cringe, because you simply just existing in this world isn't cringe. You're just a human being. You walk down the street, you breathe, you eat, you drive in your car. Who cares if there's somebody sitting directly next to you or not? Like, it's not, you're you. You're not embarrassing because you're by yourself and you're you. That doesn't make sense. You're the same like everybody else, you know, just in this space. And I find myself here quite frequently where I'm just like, everything is not that meaningful, and yeah, everything just kind of feels like we're going in circles. I try to make the best out of certain situations and whatnot, but I don't know, there's just like a monotonous, this feeling of monotony, that's a word, monotony, the existentialism. And I talk about this like in therapy. I've talked about this before, and there's obviously like no answer to this, and I'm sure like I said, there's other people who might have thoughts like these. I guess my point is like, these thoughts have served me, but they also are not the best thing to think. Like, I obviously, like, if I could not think about this stuff and just only think about like the next 8 hours, I would pick that over, you know, having to think life in such a long view. But yeah, you guys let me know how you view life. Do you feel like you have a purpose? Do you feel like, you know, every day is a new opportunity to like learn and grow? Do you feel like you're depressed and life is just boring and you're just like kind of going through emotions? Like, what's your thoughts? I want to hear your thoughts. I want to know what you're feeling. I think that's one of the reasons why I started writing out a list of goals for every month. One thing that I do want to do is, I feel like for a long time I've kind of just lived how I wanted, and I think about that in the sense of like the foods that I might eat. Like, if I feel like going to a coffee shop and getting something to eat there, then I will just do that. And I've tried to like frame it as like, okay, like just have like an open relationship with food and, you know, consumption, because I used to be overly restrictive. And so I'm like, okay, let's kind of go to the opposite side of the spectrum where I'm just like, I'm not going to make myself feel bad for having this one, you know, iced coffee and croissant today, and then also maybe again tomorrow, and then maybe again on like Saturday. At the same time, it is another challenge in another sense to find a healthy balance. And so like for the month of August, I am completely just trying to be healthy, and that's not hard for me in the sense that like to have like a healthy breakfast or lunch or like big meal is like fine, but like it's just like the stopping at Tim Hortons or something, being like, okay, I'm just gonna get an iced coffee or even like a tea or something, but I need to like not be so like black and white with my rules and be like, okay, we can be here, I want to be like 90% healthy. That's also gonna help me be more responsible with my money. But then also like if I once a week, even twice a week, want to have like a coffee or a tea, that's not gonna ruin my healthy eating. Like it's coffee and it's tea. It's another way that I can kind of get the most out of life, is being the best version of myself with my eating habits, sleeping habits. Like I've started going to bed earlier, waking up a bit earlier, you know, just trying to, you know, just be healthy and the best version of myself in any way that I can. But yeah, that's kind of just where I am at. And I just wanted to chit chat and just, you know, for myself, just gonna flesh out these ideas more, but then also ask for people's views when it comes to things like this. I think one thing that I've noticed is there are a lot of people who don't think about stuff like this. Like there are people that do, but then a lot of people kind of like stay away from certain topics because it's like too scary, or like some people don't like delve into weird places in their brain, and like that's where I live. So for me it's like normal and that's all I want to talk about, but for other people it's like stay away from me, Claudia.